Well, Sankershan, we meet again.
We do. How are you?
Powering right along. It just started pouring here in Seattle, and this is when I normally around this time take my evening walk, get away from it a little bit. But on Wednesdays I have this call, so I wait until after this call. And I was just listening outside my window. All of a sudden, it's raining pretty good, so hopefully that gets done before I go out. How are you doing? And what time is it for you?
7:30 in the morning. It's
Half
pretty
past
early.
7 in the morning. It's 7:30 in the morning. Yeah,
It is in the morning.
it is pretty early. But you're up early. You're staying up late. How do you manage your sleep time?
I don't.
That explains a lot.
Okay. So this agent names proposal that you walked us through yesterday, this is
Yeah.
not yet on a GitHub repo, right?
No, it is that is I was going to wait until after this call. I'm actually trying to finish a first person uh, modeling deadline here today, and then I was going to get it up in a in a GitHub. I mean, we could literally start that in real time here. GitHub post.
You don't actually. I think you don't need to put it in a repo if you don't. If you want to do it in a sort of easy way, you can probably lock down this Google Doc that you have and just create a discussion for people to engage and provide feedback. I think that's what you did for the Bootstrap document.
Yeah, you're right, and that would um, that would work fine. I was thinking, yeah, I don't the back sort of format is not the easiest thing to move into GitHub. So you're right. That's a good idea. I'll do that. I'll lock it down. And I guess I could also, well, here's one thing I was thinking about, which is if I wanted to provide some socialization time, and this fascinating comment about, well, why not just call it did names if it's naming for dids. And it's funny because of the various names that we've thought of over literally the last 2 years, we've sort of been cooking on this. Uh, we never, the reason I don't think that ever came up just between the two of us is because we're looking for the kind of name that would, go into popular use, right? Just like email address or, website, or interesting enough, URL. Most people now they don't say URI. You're talking to someone in the industry that say URI. It's just URL, right? It's become that. So we're sort of wondering what would become the popular name for this new type of address. But from a technical standpoint, yeah, of course, it did name. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, what my point I was making was, if we decide to take this on, and we made sure it was included in the charter that this we could do this, then I would propose it is a task force and it has a repo. And then it would just make total sense to just, you know, then you start posting to the repo and we, move, for instance, the FAQ into a markdown format and away we go. And I bet you're going to say, oh, well, which which AI service are you using the most? I'm really curious about that these days.
I think I switch between Claude, Perplexity, and Gemini, depending on what I want done. Perplexity is very good if I want to sort of go through something and build out a reading roadmap understanding. Like there is this NIST feedback document that I'm going through, and I wanted to get a list of suitable references that I can use later on. So it's very good at creating a citation list and reference. Claude, on the other hand, is I think it crunches through text fairly nicely, crunches through numbers, but doesn't do anything better.
So it's not so perplexity is more for research and
Yeah.
I hear Claude constantly being talked about from coders and developers, or
Yeah,
Claude appears to
it
be
does
quite
that pretty well these days. I mean, the latest model that they released, Claude does produce quite workable,
cool.
which is which
Cool.
is scary because remember this thing that you mentioned that the Linux kernel rogue maintainer took months to actually get trust built out and then commit code. I think I was reading that a recent AI agent took exactly one fortnight to commit enough code to gain trust of maintainers and start injecting malware. So it has come down from months to a fortnight.
If you have a reference on that, please do share it with me,
I'll,
because
I'll, I'll share that with you on Signal. And because
that would be
I was reading it
fantastic.
and I was like, okay, this is Drummond's worst nightmare at this point in time.
Well, in some ways, it is the open source project's worst nightmare, and Drummond's best sales point for for what's now, as you heard this morning, the Open VTC open source
Yeah.
project. That's why I'm looking for the reference. We are literally building the small set of slides we're going to use in the workshop we're going to have on Wednesday, the second day of the Linux Foundation Member Summit. We got a 2-hour workshop, and it's basically the same thing we had last year, but last year it was just introducing, and Jim Zemlin, chaired it or facilitated it. So it was great. It had the attention of everyone. I don't know whether we're going to get Jim again. I know Daniela Hart. They've invited some LFX folks. We're going to have a critical mass of folks around this whole thing. That's why we wanted to get OpenVTC submitted and hopefully approved. I'm going to actually go to the LFDT has the technical advisory committee meeting tomorrow, so I'm going to go there and say, hey, folks, please do review this. We'd love to be able to, announce it that this thing is now an official LFDT Labs project. We're starting in labs. But as part of that, I'd love to be able to say, well, remember that 2 years? Here now it's taken an AI agent 2 weeks or whatever that is. So that would be great information.
Yeah, I'll dig that up. I think I got it off Reddit somewhere and probably it's there in the browser history. I'll get that.
Fantastic. I notice, I mean, I'm seeing a new Trust Graph article pretty much like once a week now, if not more frequently, right?
Yeah, I publish the longer article on Mondays and then there's some. So the thing is that I actually am probably going to post it as to what the logic is. So there are three main tracks that I have decided to publish things on. So those articles come out on Monday. And then there are things that I learn through meetings and other stuff that I want to get out of my system that gets published somewhere in between. So it's like a smaller one on Wednesdays or Thursdays and a longer essay on Monday.
That's that's cool. It is on my regular reading list. I try not to. I often don't get to it during the day, and then I'm reviewing the email at night. I'm like, okay, Sankershan's got another one in there.
I just
Uh,
now need to figure out how to kind of enable voice on it so that for those who want to listen to it while they're out walking or something, they don't actually have to read it on the screen. Haven't figured that one out because I just don't want to it out and then record it in my own voice. That won't work.
yeah, exactly. And there, I mean, the notebook LLMs are. I mean, I've listened to some others that way. Um, I'd rather that the one thing I'll say about them is they tend to be they're reasonably accurate, but they're very just the way some of the AIs can be very sycophantic. They tend to be that way about whatever it is that they're having this, the quote podcast on. And whereas you just give me the facts, just give me, tell me what it is, because they do a pretty good job making it very, readable, understandable. Whatever it'll. Um, I I do listen on, I after the pandemic, I got hooked on, audiobooks and podcasts and all that. So I do a lot of listening to that. But the more substantive the content, the more I like to read it. right, and see it. They're just the anyway. I'm just astounded though at the amount of content you're putting out. It's amazing.
There is significant amount of stuff that we are discussing, right? So it's not like I am thinking through all of this alone. It's all these meetings, all these conversations that allows me a whole bunch of things to work through.
Absolutely. Well, I'll put it this way. I'm hoping that, what we're doing, Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group, first person project, gives you oodles and oodles of content. To because that's what we're doing. And this the summit next week, the Summit on Human Agency, is going to be the first event really focused just straight down that bowling alley. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how it comes out. The whole thing that we unfortunately we can't because LF Events is doing the infrastructure. We're not able to stream it, but we are going to record all the sessions. Although the one thing they won't be able to do unless they go around and like pick one or two or they do snippets is the roundtables in the afternoon, of which I think they're going to be 18. So that it'll be fascinating. I myself am going to have to like pick. I'm not giving a roundtable, so I'm just going to have to pick one. But of the 18
But
topics, there at least half of them I'd like to
but
go
you
to.
could actually get folks or at least one uh, someone at the roundtable to sum it up and do a piece to camera because I think during the IIWs, the virtual ones, that's what was done. Like you take a group
Yes,
and you kind of summarize what the big takeaways are, and it also
that's a
allows you
great
to
idea.
have something written down. And if you are posting it to YouTube, you can put it in the description, and becomes sort of like a record out there.
That's a really good idea. Um, yeah, yeah, and and if folks agree, you could also, almost everyone at the table is going to have a smartphone. They could volunteer to just record the thing if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of the summary. Of course, they could record it and then ask for a summary. Anyone who's, it's just amazing. I got to tell you, the speed at which AI is just bending the whole industry is stunning to me. Um, I have not seen anything have this level of impact at this speed as long as I've been doing this stuff. I mean,
I think the I think for me the only time I have seen this is you might be familiar that in India we have this infrastructure called the Unified Payments Interface, right? UPI,
yeah,
and that kind of the way the entire country went from cash to digital using the UPI rails during the COVID and immediately post COVID. I think the AI, how seamlessly everyone is sort of, they're not thinking twice about saying, okay, I'll do this with AI or I'll pass it to my agent and stuff like that. The closest equivalent I remember seeing it was in UPI when folks just like said, what's your UPI number to transfer money to you with? And uh, I think that in the US, similar apps exist, right? In terms of like private silos, Venmo and others allow you to transfer cash. But at a national level, across everywhere, using payment infrastructure, the way it seamlessly move the consumer experience, I think AI is the closest I'm getting primarily because it is everyone. Like, for instance, it is somebody who wants to try a new recipe. They're actually just speaking out to a chat GPT or a Gemini instance and getting something back. Or like, let's face it, Google actually had voice-based assistant for quite a long time now. And it was, I think, 60-70% accurate, not like 100%, near 100% as it is now. But it was not widely adopted, at least in India.
yeah,
I know in places like Vietnam, Cambodia, and other places, it is very popular, but
yeah,
not in India. And I see that in India, it's now becoming incredibly seamless. It's like the switch is in the blink of an eye. You don't really feel it, or don't have the hesitation, and you don't actually have. second thoughts about doing that fallback, which is very interesting.
Yes, exactly. That is very true. Um, and uh, yeah, I get the sense that it's still as much impact as already had. We're still very early in the in the curve of where it's going to go. A quick thought because it looks like it's just you and I, and of course all this is being recorded. Do you want to switch over to? Do you just want to say, okay, we've met here, but there are a couple of things I'd love to chat about, which are more trust RFP, specific topics. In other words, doesn't don't no need to record them.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll ping you a Zoom link uh, well, we're both on Signal,
Signal is
right?
where you can send it over and I'll pick it up.
Good. Let me do that. Okay, I'll do that. And for the recording, this was the two of us here today. And since we're both on this morning's meeting, uh, we're signing off.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
I'll ping you now.